I've got to toss it over to one of my, I always like calling him my big brother in the business. I remember meeting Buddy Boyd. I think it was my third day on the job because my manager at the time was like, hey, I know you're brand new here. You haven't made a single paycheck. Drive to Columbia. It's going to be sick. And I'm like, for what? And he's like, dude, we've got this division summit. It's going to be awesome. Buddy Boyd in Kansas City is going to be there. I'm like, who? What is this happening? And I remember seeing this young man at the time who was just at the top of his game. And whoever, since I was a sales rep, an assistant manager in a new district, has always just held, has always been an incredible example to me personally and to the rest of the region as a whole. Buddy got started selling Cutco a long time ago, for what it's worth. I believe back in 2008. Graduated from Mizzou as well, a little MIZ action.
Yo.
And I remember when I first opened up my office in Columbia, Buddy's shadow was looming because he, while his time at Mizzou, set the region branch record for Columbia. I believe it was over $250,000 for the summer, which is absolutely fierce. He was the pilot sales manager in the former St. Louis division headquarters office, has been running his own district office since 2013, has qualified for our prestigious President's Banquet 3 times, I believe, 3 times and counting at this point, and in 2020 earned the well-deserved promotion to be the division manager of the now robust Frontier Division. So over $12.8 million in career sales, Court of Honor, Hall of Fame achiever, here to bring us home, Mr. Buddy Boyd.
Thanks for the kind words, Mike. I appreciate it. And I'm really excited to kind of wrap up the event today. First thing I want to do is I just want to say thank you to all the speakers. So let's give a little bit of love to all the speakers, either some fist pumps, some spirit fingers, or in the chat box, who they were. Maybe post your favorite messages or your favorite speakers of the event, just to show them some love. And then another thing I want to do, you guys, if you're part of my division, that I love contests. That's like my thing. And so the region is actually going to throw a contest out for you guys. And I want to announce it for you right now, because as soon as this meeting is over, you want to be able to take some action, get those demos lined up. I know some of you guys have appointments right after. And so you want to use the motivation that you have and the inspiration right now to take action on that stuff. And so here's the deal. We're going to give you some reasons. This is the contest for this week. All you have to do is you sell $1,000 for the week. You get your name on the newsletter, the regional newsletter, and you're going to be in a drawing to win $100 in cold hard cash. We're going to be giving away 1 prize per division. So this is a divisional thing where basically a total of 4 people are going to be taking home $100, being $100 richer. So that's this week, starts today. And you guys, or starts on Tuesday, actually. So it's post-conference prompt. So it's this upcoming week. And you guys are going to have an opportunity to go big. And so push yourself. And I think we'll drop that into the chat box as well, so you guys can have that. What I also want you to do is I want you to go ahead and go to the last part on your workbook really quick. And what I'd like for you to do is let's go to that very last question there at the bottom. So I'll give you guys a second to pull that back up if you have it on your computer, or if you have it, the notes, a physical copy of it, go ahead and pull that out real quick. Again, anytime you go to an event, it's one thing to be excited and motivated, but motivation and excitement is a fleeting feeling. Okay, it's going to be gone as soon as it came. What you have to commit to is something. You have to commit to something. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to think about what are some of your specific outcomes for the rest of the summer. And I know we did an exercise earlier with Mike where he had you make an inspiring vision of the summer for yourself. But I want you to think specifically, what are you trying to do with Cutco for the rest of the summer? How much do you want to earn? What promotion do you want to hit? What awards and accolades are you trying to take home? What do you want to sell for SC2? That's something you want to start thinking about right now. You heard some big numbers thrown out there today, and that could be you, right? What do you want to save this summer? It's not about how much money you make. It's about how much you keep, right? So maybe you have a savings goal, right? What do you want to learn, right? So I want you to write down some specific outcomes for the rest of the summer. And again, feel free to share those in the chat box to inspire other people as well. The next question, again, this is on your outline there at the bottom. Feel free to write this on your outline or write it in the chat box or write it on your notes. What are you ready to commit and take action on today? What are you ready to commit and take action on today? Psychologists say that over 75% of the information we hear is lost after 2 to 3 hours of hearing it, if there's no action being taken. And so you have to make a decision today, like, what do I need to do right now, as soon as this meeting is over, to really fulfill and take one step closer to hitting those bigger outcomes for the summer? And why is that important to you? So I want you to take a second and I want you to write that down. And what I want you to do with your outcomes is I want you to pick 3 big goals for the summer, 3 big goals. If you have more than 3, you want to get them more focused, right? You only want to have 3. And then I want you to write down the 2 action steps that you need to take in the next 24 hours. The 2 action steps that you need to take in the next 24 hours. Because again, the motivation and the feeling that you have right now is going to be gone if there's no action. And then lastly, I want you to commit to 1 immediate action step that you're going to take the second that this event is over. That's going to help you achieve those bigger outcomes. For some of you guys, it's going to be to make more phone calls than you've ever made. Some of you guys, it's going to be to implement some of the things you learned on your next demo that you're about to do. Some of you guys, it's going to be to start building your names list. I'm going to challenge you, as soon as this event is over, write down 30 people you can think of that you can add to your list, right? Maybe it's set up a PC with your manager. That's the immediate action step. I know during, like in the last hour or so, I sent a text to a bunch of people on my team saying, hey, let's meet on Monday. I want to meet with you, right? So maybe you need to do that with your manager so that way you can set up a great July and rest of the summer for you. Share some action steps, by the way, in the chat box. I'd love it if you guys can share. Many of you guys shared your specific outcomes, but I'd love it if you could also share any outcomes that you have. That'd be really, really beneficial, I think, to the group. And then feel free to steal those from others. Love it, love it, love it. Love the outcomes. All right, now to wrap up this meeting, what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about what I'd like to call the greatest moments of your life. And I think this goes hand in hand with the theme of this event so far. We've been talking a lot about growth. We've been talking about, the past and how those experiences really made you who you are today. And we've been talking a lot about the future and the outcomes you want to create for yourself. Now, it was great that Mike King was showing all these hockey references. I mean, I like the good sports like football, basketball, the more, he's from St. Louis and Kansas City. We like a different type of sport around here. But I want you to think about the greatest moments. I want you to think about the greatest comebacks you've ever seen or ever been a part of. I want you to think about the times where you were doubted as a person, or maybe you even doubted yourself, right? I'm a big basketball fan. I remember 2016, the Golden State Warriors were up against the LeBron James-led Cavs, and the Warriors were up 3-1. There's a 4.9% chance historically to come back from that. And they came back and they won the championship. And I remember this play here on the left side of the screen where LeBron blocked a go-ahead score. He literally hustled on the court, stopped it, and that changed everything. And a little bit more recently, I remember the Chiefs, okay? And they were down 24-0 in the game. 24-0 in the game in the playoffs on our home court, on our home field, right? And we came back and we won in a blowout fashion. And then a week, 2 weeks later, we were down 10 in the Super Bowl and we came back and won again. But one of my favorite stories, I'm going to share it with you guys. I was a lifeguard in high school too. I swam a little bit. We actually have the Olympics coming up pretty soon. So I'm going to play this video for you guys on one of the greatest Olympic relays of all time. I get chills when I watch that, right? And there's so many stories in that. You heard even the announcer doubting what was about to happen. How often have you been doubted? How often have you been off to a bad or a slow start and things didn't go the way you wanted them to? How often did you not even understand what was possible for you? I want you to understand that many of you guys, you're going to leave this event today. The same doubters are going to be there. The same odds are going to be against you. There's going to be people that are going to hold you back. I remember my friends and family, they didn't understand why I was using my summer break to work my butt off instead of sitting around and being lazy like what I'd done in previous summers. What's not seen in this video, by the way, is the hours of practice, the lost races, the injuries, the adversity, the failure, the growth. What does it take to prove the doubters wrong? What does it take to rise to the occasion and get to this very moment of victory and believe in yourself and believe that you can do whatever you set your mind to? I think it starts with going back to the places in your life where you operated at your best. When was that? What were you doing every day? Who were you? Who were you around? Maybe you can pinpoint that time. Maybe you can't. Maybe you've never really felt like you've achieved anything noteworthy, but you know there's more for you in this world. How do you get to this place of total all-out victory and accomplishment? You have to have some vision. And I love that exercise we did earlier, but you have to also be committed to growing yourself. Somebody once told me that your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal growth. And for me, I thought, I want to be successful at what I do. So how can I grow myself? This is a totally different way of thinking for me when I started working with Cutco. I showed up differently. I showed up differently around my friends. I lost friends because I started with Cutco, because I started acting weird. I started acting different. I started pursuing growth. Growth isn't easy. Sometimes you shed away the dead weight. So what I want to share with you guys are some tools that I used to constantly be in that state of growth. And the reason, again, why I wanted to grow is because I knew that one day that opportunity was going to come for me and I wanted to be ready. I think back to my first SC2 push. I had an opportunity and I'd heard about growth all summer and I wanted to sell 10K for SC2. I only had 8 days because we were going to my sister's wedding the second week. And I did my last demo on Monday. We were leaving at noon on Tuesday. I had $1,200 to go. I was short of my goal. It was about 8, 9 o'clock at night. I didn't really know what to do, but I started to get resourceful, right? I started to dig deep. I started to find ways. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to call my very first customer. Called her. She was the first person who actually bought a homemaker from me. She wasn't my first customer. She was my first homemaker sale. And I said, hey, I wanted to know if I could stop by in the morning just to make sure your Cutco's in good shape. That's what I did. Went over at 8 a.m. Again, we were leaving at noon. And I started showing her stuff, right? She got interested in the kitchen tools now that she already had, a set. And she was like, you know what? I'll get the kitchen tools. I was about $1,200 away from my goal. Kitchen tools aren't going to get it done, right? And in that moment, I started writing it up and then I stopped and I said, you know what? I've got an opportunity right now. I've got an opportunity to go down swinging and I'm going to give it everything I've got. So I stopped and I said, hey, you know what? Let me just reshare with you my goals. And I told her what I was trying to do. I told her all I'd went through the last 10 days, 8 days. I told her why it was important to me. And then I said, you know what? You can actually spend less today if you get the whole flatware chest on the 5Pay, and I'll actually give you the kitchen tools for free. And that would help me hit my goal. And I'll also cut your grass every day or every time you need it this month. She was like, all right, that's fine. Right? I like that moment started something in me where it's like, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to back down. Right. And that's something I've held on to since 2008. Right. And so, that was the decision I made to start challenging myself and started getting out of my comfort zone, starting to grow. I remember that translating into me becoming a branch manager. And, our branch was solid. We were strong, from May, June, up until July. And I had these big goals for SC2. And then, part of it being an inexperienced manager, part of it being poor planning. My top 3 reps left town for SC2. So I had these big goals, this big aspirations. I was super motivated, but I didn't have any of my good reps. And on top of that, I was homeless at the time. Basically, what happened was I was in Jeff City and I was commuting from Columbia. So I drove 30 minutes every day from Columbia. My lease expired on my apartment at the beginning of July, and I just forgot about it. So I didn't have a place to live for that whole month. So I was like, you know what? I'll get like an extended stay hotel. My car, the headlight went out. So I was like, oh man, maybe I'll get pulled over. I got to figure out how to fix this. But I had so much going on, I didn't really have time. I remember right before I was moving out of my place, I showed up at the front door and there's a notice on the door. It was a warrant for my arrest. Because what happened was I got a speeding ticket 8 months prior to in Kansas City, and they sent the notice to my parents' house. My parents didn't mention it to me. So now I'm a criminal. And then the very day of the push, I remember showing up, my entire office had been broken into and robbed. All the computers, the desk, everything gone. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, how am I going to make this happen? And then I thought differently. I thought this will be a really cool story. We actually ended up selling $60,000 for that push. We doubled our sales for the summer. And that's something I've been holding on to since that time. How did I do that? How do people get to these levels where they can just execute and achieve despite all adversity? For me, it's been a growth process. It's been years of doing this and going through these challenges and overcoming these obstacles. And one thing that I really love is what I call my abundance toolkit. And these are the things that really allow me to thrive and operate at my best, regardless of what's going on. And I want to give you guys these tools to help you have your best month ever and really live your best life ever. So for me, there's 3 categories of abundance. The first one is the physical tool. So for me, exercise. For me, sleeping enough, going to bed early enough, and waking up early. A little pro tip, set your clothes out before the next day so you're ready to roll. Get your gym bed ready at night, right? Hydration, that's another thing that really takes me to another level. And you guys, again, if you're in my division, you know I love to eat, but I also love to feel good. And so I'm very intentional about eating healthy so I can operate at my best. So these are just some of the physical tools I use to help me get to that level where I can perform and lead. Then there's these emotional tools. You know, for me, I love spending time with my family. Every week, I do a date night with my wife. I spend intentional time with my kids, and that fills me up, kind of fills my cup. Something else that I love is dreaming. So one of my favorite parts of the SC2 Alliance is writing out your dreams. We do this almost every single day. We write out, what would a perfect day look like? What would an ideal day look like? And I love doing that. Another thing that I think absolutely puts me in a state of just abundance, and that's gratitude. It's hard to be thankful and upset at the same time. It's hard to be thankful and have anxiety at the same time. It's hard to show gratitude and fear at the same time. They can't coexist. And so whenever you can get into those states where you're just showing appreciation and gratitude and thankful for all the blessings in your life, it changes everything for you. Another thing that really gets me to a new level is letting people speak into me, right? Getting mentorship, looking up, reaching up to people that are getting it done at a higher level. You know, for me, you know, Mike Muriel absolutely is somebody who mentors me and coaches me and speaks life into me. It's not always easy. Doesn't always tell me what I want to hear. But being open to being coached, being open to receiving that feedback is important to me. Another thing is reading, right? Reading about what successful people have done. And then for me, I love having fun. You know, it's important to have fun. Golfing, swimming, traveling. Those are some of my favorite things that really get me in a state where I feel like I can operate at my best. The third category of things, I call these the spiritual tools, right? For me, it's prayer. You might meditate. I do devotions, right? Spending time outside in nature can get you in a really great state, especially with the virtual world. I think it's important to be outside in nature. Random acts of kindness, it goes back to that gratitude, right? You just can't be kind to someone and think about yourself at the same time. And so, and another thing with that, I think, is allowing other people to speak life into me in all these areas. So those are some of my abundance tools And I think of it as a toolkit, right? I think of it as a utility belt where I can just pull from whichever I need. You don't have to do all those, but there might be one or two of those things in there that could be a potential game changer for you. There's this resource, and Mike referenced this earlier. We did an effective leadership training this spring, and companies around the world use this to develop their leaders. One thing you have to understand about leadership is sometimes it's not really about leading other people. You actually have to learn how to lead yourself. You have to learn how to operate at your best. And in this leadership model, there's basically two different states. There's the creative state of leadership, and there's the reactive state of leadership. And all these things that I just talked about are in the creative state. This is where the change starts to happen for you. This is where your full potential. So you guys remember that vision you wrote down of an inspiring summer a little bit earlier? This is where all that gets realized, is in the creative state. That's why I think you should attempt to do something great for the rest of this summer. And for many of you guys, start the greatest phase of your life so far. That's why I love Cutco, because it forces me to be in this state. It challenges me, it gives me opportunities to step up and grow myself, and thus create the amazing stories that happen. I want you to know this: you have to be consistent. It's a consistent and never-ending pursuit of growth. I've been pursuing growth for 13 years. I still have a lot of areas of opportunity. But I challenge you to take those challenges. Every challenge you take down, the next one actually becomes bigger and more impactful. The impact might not be seen today. It might not be in your sales results tomorrow, but it might come 5 years from now when you're thriving through med school. It might come 10 years from now when you're leading your family or your church or your community or doing something epic for the world. When is your moment? Why is your moment? And who do you need to be in that moment? And I just want to challenge you guys to be all you can be. I want to challenge you to grow yourself. Be ready for that moment. I look forward to seeing you all at SC2 to celebrate. Thank you guys for an amazing event. And let's take some action.